We have an updated full face of Victoria Beckham here, so let's get into it. I have done a full face of Victoria Beckham Beauty before when they had recently launched, but now that I have some new things in my collection, thought it would be a good time to do an updated full face, let you know what's worth it and what's not, since this brand is luxury, so it's very pricey. There's definitely some gems, but also some things that I think are kind of worth passing on. So if you want to know all the details about that, keep watching. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. But without further ado, let's get into it. I do already have my base and brows on, and I also did a little bit of cream contour. But we're going to start with our first base product. The first product I have from them is one of their sort of more recent launches. It is the Victoria Beckham Beauty. These are called their matte bronzing bricks, and this is the lightest shade 01. If you're not familiar with Victoria Beckham Beauty already, their packaging, it is the most beautiful packaging in my collection, and it feels very weighted. When I had first got this bronzer, the one that I ordered, actually the compact broke and like wouldn't close, but the customer service was great and they sent me a new one like right away. So I was really pleased with the customer service. So I'm just really glad that they, you know, have that good customer service as well, because they're pricey products. So, you know, they should. But these are the two shades. These are not my absolute favorite bronzers just because they're a little bit warm for me. Even looking at them, they swatch a little bit warmer than they are. But in terms of formula, they're very beautiful, silky matte bronzers. Let me do a little bit of a swatch for you. So as you can tell, this one is very light, and then this one is like quite a deeper shade. I feel like they could have gone even lighter with this being the fairest shade, just in terms of this one, because this one is very light, but this one is like almost too warm for me, so I ended up mixing them. So I'm gonna mix both of these shades, but I'm gonna focus mostly on this one, just a little bit into the deeper one, and just lightly blending that in. As you can see, they're very like blendable, even though they're not my favorite shades. I think they just still end up looking very pretty and natural on my skin. I love a good matte bronzer too. I learned this, I forget from what video, but it was from a makeup artist, about putting bronzer on like this top part of your chin, which I never usually do, but it makes sense because it's where the sun would sort of like bronze your face, and I just love the look of it. So if you don't do that on a daily basis, try it out. I think you might like it. So that's the bronzer look. Although the shades aren't absolutely ideal for me, I do really like the formula of this product. So if you have deeper skin than me, or you do like more warm bronzers, I think you would really like this. The formulas really do speak for themselves. Silky smooth, no complaints with this bronzer, besides just the slight preference in shade difference. Next, we have another one of their newer products, which I have not tried yet. So this is one of their Cheeky Posh cream blushes. I got the shade Fame. Beautiful packaging as always, and it's a little twist up component. This shade is like a very pretty mid-tone purpley pink. I'm gonna hope that this shears out. I'm gonna put a little bit on the back of my hand. I do already have a little bit of powder on, so we will see how this performs over powder. Now, when I am putting a cream blush over powder, I always use a sponge, and I use this technique where I have it on the back of my hand, and then I'm just gonna take my sponge and pick up the product, make sure that it's evenly distributed onto my sponge, and then I take that and I bounce it onto my cheeks. This way it doesn't like, you're not swiping and disrupting the powder. Okay, I might need a little bit more product. Okay, there we go. We got some pigment going. I was afraid the shade might be a little bit too dark, but I think especially with this technique, shearing out. I love that shade. It is so pretty. I am just such a sucker for like anything cool tone nowadays, especially blushes. It's a little darker than most blushes that I wear. I really like super pastel blushes, but super pretty. It's not very dewy. It almost has like this satiny matte finish. I definitely wouldn't call it a super dewy blush. It might be because I'm putting it over powder, but even on my hand, it has more of a silky finish. Nothing that's too oily or dewy, which I really like. I feel like they always last a lot longer. I'm happy with this. I think it looks very pretty and it applied nicely. It's hard to, you know, kind of figure out if I absolutely love these things on first impressions. Almost all the other stuff I have tried before, this was the one new thing. There's a lot of cream blushes on the market that do perform really nicely, and this one is very beautiful. I don't know if there's necessarily anything unique that's like standing out to me compared to other cream blushes besides, you know, the packaging, but we'll see. So we're actually going to be moving on to eyes now. I have two of their Smoky eye bricks. One that was the one that I originally purchased back in the day. This is the shade Tweed, which is a warm tone palette back when I was really on the warm tone train. This is beautiful if, I would say if you have more like a medium skin tone or if you have warm undertones, this would be beautiful. I don't gravitate towards this as much now that I just prefer more neutral cool tones. But if I do want something very like warm and smoky, these are beautiful formulas. I especially love this like muted brown. But the new one that I have is the signature shade, which is so pretty. And this is definitely more of an everyday palette. I'm doing an everyday look with this that I will go ahead and show you. So you get this like very light taupe, a very light pink, a dark brown, and then more of a lighter brown. I love the size of these palettes. The packaging is beautiful as always. Super easy to create more natural or dramatic looks with this. So I'm starting with this lightest taupe shade. And these are matte formulas, by the way, but two of these shades do have like a slight satin shimmer in them, which I don't mind. I feel like it makes them look very like pretty and natural. I'm just taking a fluffy brush. This is from Trixie Cosmetics, the P07. Just got this brush set and they make really good brushes. I've been loving them. It's just gonna work as my transition shade. I'm also gonna take that same shade on a smaller brush and just work this very smoky on my lower lash line. Next, going in with that same brush, I'm taking this baby pink shade right next to it. This is one that has a little bit of shimmer in it. And I'm just layering this a little bit closer to my crease, just to make it a little more pink. And these are very buildable, as you can tell. I'm just like dipping back in. Very beginner friendly palettes. They don't sort of just immediately hit you with so much pigment. Next, I'm taking a bit of a smaller brush. This is the Trixie P08. And I'm going into this medium brown. And I like to start by pressing this into the outer corner of my eye. And then we're going to feather it out. I do think the name of these palettes, like it's a good name for these because they do give you this smoky effect because there's such a nice gradient of colors. Like some of them may seem similar, like those first two, but when you like blend them together, it just helps everything look very seamless and smoky. Before we move on, I'm taking that same medium brown shade, working that more on the outer half of the lower lash line. If you wanted to make this even more nighttime, it is quite dark on me at the moment, but you could just continue to build that brown shade even more to make it more smoky. This is a little bit darker than I would go on, you know, an everyday basis, but we're doing like an in-between look. If you ever feel like your edges look a little bit harsh, you can always go back in with the fluffier brush and take a little bit of that lighter shade, either the pink or the light taupe, and then just go around those edges. Makes everything look blended and beautiful. So these palettes are definitely some of my favorites. I love a mini palette. I love a mini palette, and I think these are, even though they're like a little bit heavier, I think they're very travel friendly because it's just such a petite little portion of eyeshadow, but it's really everything you need, at least the signature one in my opinion. If you have like more of a medium skin tone, I think this one might be a little bit better. The only thing that like this one is lacking is more of a highlight shade if you have more medium skin. These are pretty, I really do like them. They're pricier, but they are like very pretty, unique matte formulas and very beginner friendly. Also, all the mirrors in these products, by the way, are very high quality mirrors. Like you do not need a separate mirror if you just wanted to use these. The last shade I'm going to use in the signature palette is the very dark brown shade. Taking an angled liner brush, and I'm just going to do a smoky shadow liner. We'll be doing a lid shade on top of this. Sometimes I like to do the liner first and then the lid shade because it makes it look even more blended and smoky. As long as you tap off the excess, I don't find that these shadows have a ton of fallout either. I'm actually going to go in with that little shader brush and blend out the top of this liner. Now, if you want to make this a little bit cleaner, I just take basically a clean flat shader brush like this. You can do one with a little bit of like powder foundation on it. And I just like clean up the edges, just so the wing is sort of, you know, the edge of the makeup, but you could leave it smokier if that's what you want. Next, I have 3 shades of the lid lusters. I will swatch all of them for you. So starting with the one that I originally bought, this is the shade Blonde, which is like a white with this very pretty like gold reflect. It reminds me of a NARS highlight I used to have. It's a very pretty like white gold reflective shade, pretty light base, so it can be natural. And then we have the 2 new shades. First is Chiffon, which is a bit more of like a bronzy, rosy neutral. It's a little bit more like depth to it than the Blonde shade. This one also has a smoother shimmer. I'm not sure if they altered the formula since I bought the first one, but these 2 new shades, they feel smoother to me and a little bit less like powdery, like maybe they just have a little bit more of a base in them. So there's the Chiffon shade. It is gorgeous, so flattering, I feel like, on so many different people. And yeah, this one definitely feels a little bit smoother. The Blonde shade has more shimmer in it for sure. And then we have, I think, my favorite. It's hard to choose, but this is the shade Mirror. Gorgeous silver. I just feel like this shade is beautiful. It's definitely like a bluish silver. Again, this one seems, it has a little bit more shimmer than the Chiffon shade, but still very smooth. There's that very pretty blue silver. It's so wearable. I think I'm gonna do the silver today. I was gonna do Chiffon, but I just feel like I have to show you what the silver shade looks on. And these, by the way, I definitely recommend applying with your finger. I just don't feel like you get a lot of payoff when you use like a brush. With any sort of potted eye pigment, I always use my finger. So I'm just gonna pat this on my lid and you'll just see the gorgeousness in the pigment. I mean, it's so pretty. These just take like any eye look from 0 to 100, and you could wear these on their own for like an everyday look. So my everyday look has been the exact same sort of matte shadow base, but I use the shade Chiffon instead of the silver one. This one's definitely a little bit more nighttime, but they're very gorgeous. These are one of my favorite products from the brand. I do feel like they improved the formula or changed it a little bit from when I first purchased them, because this one's just a little bit more like powdery and chunky, and these ones are even more beautiful, which I didn't even know was possible. They have so many beautiful shades of these. I do have a lot of similar products like the ColourPop Super Shocks and the Bodyography ones, but something about the shades and the intensity, and it's more of like a smooth, like they have a little bit more pigment into a little bit less like shimmer based. They're just gorgeous and I really recommend these ones. Next, I wanted to talk about the Satin Kajal eyeliners. I do have the bronze shade of this, and then this is my new shade, which is called, I don't know if they have the shade names on these. Okay, they do. It's Copper, which is self-explanatory. It's a very pretty copper shade. I don't think I'm gonna wear this one today just because the look is a little bit more cool toned. Where'd the cap go? But I do 100% recommend these eyeliners as well. If you want something super creamy that you could just like blend out, that's it, blended with a little sponge on the other end. These are very, very beautiful eyeliners. There's a lot of great eyeliners on the market, but another thing that makes these unique is just the shades. So many gorgeous jewel tones. They actually just came out with a like more sparkly version of these eyeliners. I forget the name of them, but they look so, so gorgeous. These can totally be a look on their own. You just like apply it and smudge it out. They have really good like inspiration photos on their website if you want to check them out. This copper shade's really pretty to wear on its own or in combination with like any of these products really, but that's another one of my favorites from the brand. I think in general, the eye products are definitely the most standout products for me. I do also have their Future Lash Mascara, which is not a favorite of mine. It doesn't wear well on me, but I'm gonna go ahead and just show you how it applies anyway. It has this very tiny little brush. In my experience, almost every like high-end mascara I try doesn't really live up to more drugstore formulas, so this is probably better for your lashes, but it just doesn't, like I need it to have longevity and good wear. Like the effect's okay. Maybe just like not as lengthening or dramatic as I usually like. I do really like how little this brush is because it just gets those like bottom lashes very well. So there's the mascara. It's nice, right? Just not my favorite in terms of the longevity, unfortunately. But it does build up to be like very pretty, and it's more of this like voluminous type of lash look. But let's move on to the lips. I'm gonna do a little bit of lip liner. I believe I do have a lip liner from them. I didn't bring it up. I believe it's the shade 2. It's just a bit too warm on me. I haven't tried any other shades. I might take a look at them, but I'm gonna use one of my Sephora gel liners just because the shade is one of my favorites. This is the shade The Nudist, by the way. One of the closest I found to Lime Crime Topist. On to lip products. I have quite a few to talk about. Let's start with their Posh lipsticks. These are beautiful. I have 2 shades. I had a lot more of these and I don't know why, but I somehow lost basically all of them. I guess they were just in my purse and they got lost, but I will be swatching them. So the first one I have is Girl, which I did own before and I repurchased because I lost it. This is a warm, pretty pink neutral. And then we have the shade Pose, which is more of like a neutral, coolish berry tone, sort of similar to the blush we use. And then I used to have the shade Spice as well, but that's like a very warm, like ginger nude, which is just not super flattering on me. So my favorite out of these 2 is Pose. So that's what I'm going to be using today. These are, if you've never tried them, very, very smooth, moisturizing. They're not going to last a long time, but that's kind of like the fun of the product, is like bringing this with you and reapplying it. Super duper moisturizing. Like they melt onto the lip, and you could definitely like sheer these out or do more pigment. I also like to sort of blend these out with my fingers. Gorgeous, right? This is definitely a bit darker on me. If you have deeper skin, this is definitely going to be more of a neutral. I wish they had some lighter cool tone shades. A lot of the like light nudes are pretty warm, but the shade is gorgeous, so I'm not mad at it. It's kind of going with the smoky look we have going on. Last but certainly not least are the lip glosses. I have 2 shades here, but I do also own the shade Bikini, which is this light, like more neutral, cool nude. That one's in my bag because it's my favorite. It is so pretty. But I have a shade Fizz here, which is more of like a purple one to go with this. And then I also have the clear one. This was in my yearly favorites. These formulas are, again, very like beautiful standout products from the brand. They have a double-sided applicator, and they're just so creamy and non-sticky and super shiny. They're just gorgeous. I'm gonna go ahead and put this one on. Very similar to this lip shade, but it has a little bit more brightness to it. They sort of give you that like jelly type of lip look, if you know what I'm saying. So there we have it. This is our finished Victoria Beckham Beauty look. I like how it came out. I'm gonna go over all of the products just quickly to round up my thoughts. I really like how this like deep look goes with these silver eyes. Super fun products to try out. So starting with the face products, the bronzer is pretty nice. Not my favorite in terms of the shade. The blush stick, I did really like this, but nothing's like super unique about it so far to me. I will have to update you on how it wears. Onto the eyes, I think this is where the brand really shines. I am a big fan of their little smoky eye bricks. A lot of beautiful shades depending on what you wear on the daily basis, or if you want something a little bit more colorful. Again, another one of my favorites, the lid lusters. These are probably in my top picks if you've never tried the brand before. I think picking up one of these, you'll kind of get the essence of a brand in the product. They're so beautiful. So many different beautiful, shimmery, glossy, just va-va-voom shades. Great additions to your shadow collection. This mascara is a pass for me just because it doesn't wear well. I actually forgot to mention this, but I do have their Bitten Lip Tint. This one's the shade Bisou. This product is not my favorite. I think it might be the shade. I just can't get this to look good on my lips because I usually have some sort of like dry skin on my lips going on. It just ends up looking patchy and it doesn't really last. I don't know, like it's a pretty good product. Sometimes I layer it under lipstick, but it's just not like my favorite out of all of their other lip products. The Satin Kajal liners are another one of my favorites, another one that has so many beautiful shades to choose from, and it's a super creamy, long-lasting formula. Definitely a unique liner in my collection. And then we have the Posh lipsticks. These are probably my favorite out of all of the lip products. I think my top two has got to be the lid lustres and these lipsticks. They're just something very unique that I always end up reaching for. Also the glosses, if you're more of a gloss person, it depends on what you want, but these are beautiful as well. They're non-sticky, they're creamy, they're very glossy, they come in beautiful shades. Packaging's just as luxe. They do a really good job in terms of their lip products. So that was it for my roundup of these beautiful Victoria Beckham beauty products. Hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. I would love to know if you've tried this brand, what your favorites are, or if you've never tried them before, let me know what products are piquing your interest. I'll chat with you down in the comments below, but thanks for tuning in and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.